This is Asajj Ventress, and you're listening to Rule the Galaxy.
Hey, Star Wars fans and Rule the Galaxy fans. It is Joe in the pilot seat. Today we are doing episode 265 of the Rule the Galaxy podcast. And we've got a couple of the regular co hosts here today, myself and D-Doc, which we'll get to in 1 second. And then we will have a special guest because there's a cool book coming out that we all are interested in. And this guy's the one who put it together and knows all the deep dark secrets, which maybe we can tell you some, maybe we can't. But welcome to Rule the Galaxy, Chapter 265. Just another day in the park, and my good pal D-Doc is with us. How you doing, D-Doc?
I'm doing good. I just went from building a bathroom down the street to coming here to talk about building Legos. So I'm pretty excited about it. A good little, I'm used to it being dark out for the podcast. It's nice. Yep. I'm drinking some coffee here. It's nice to get a little midday podcast in. I'm excited about it.
Well, we're glad to have you here. Usually I'm doing the midday ones, but with you being on board, it's even more special. And I definitely wanted you here because this young man that we're going to have hop on here, Graham Hancock. Graham is the author of Lego Star Wars: The Force of Creativity. So, Graham, if you can hear me, hop on board.
Hey, Joe. Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and talk Lego Star Wars with you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm gonna let D-Doc. Well, I'm back, so I will keep going here. Well, I'm really thankful for you responding to me and saying, hey, we saw the announcement for the book. We all got kind of giddy because we talk about toys, we talk about Legos, all that on the show at all times. And we saw the book and we were like, man, we really would like to talk to this guy and see what this is all about. And I've seen you've been making the rounds. You've been on some other podcasts. Are you tired of talking to people about it already, or are you still excited about it?
The beauty of my interest in Lego and my interest in Star Wars is that I can talk about them all day, every day. Like any opportunity to talk Lego, to talk Star Wars, I'm more than happy to take it. And I think what helps is I still don't have my own copy of the book yet. So the anticipation's still there of seeing like a physical copy of it in my hands. So that's like doing all of this, talking to people about it, is getting me really kind of primed and pumped up to actually see the thing for myself.
Absolutely. I think Joe's kind of frozen for a second too. So Joe, Joe, do a reset on your computer and I'll just keep it flowing here right now. Anytime this happens to me on StreamYard, I always just restart the computer. All right. He said he will do. Man, so I've been researching you. How does it feel to be writing a book for Lego? You're a young guy. It's like it's pretty awesome to see the stuff you've been doing. I know you've done other books and written for magazines too. So, like, do you pinch yourself that you get to do this stuff?
Well, thank you for calling me young, D-Doc. I'll always take that. That's always fun to hear. But no, like I'm so lucky to do what I do. I absolutely love Lego. Like I say, I love Star Wars. And my day job is working on Blocks magazine, which is a monthly magazine all about Lego. And just getting to do Lego all day, every day, obviously, is a real treat. But then this book in particular, Lego Star Wars: The Force of Creativity, like when this one came across my desk, when this opportunity came up, I was so excited because Star Wars is the thing that kept me in Lego. Like when I was a kid and I was feeling like maybe I'm a little bit too old to be playing with Lego, it was literally then Lego Star Wars came out and it kept me in it. As a teenager, I kept collecting Lego Star Wars. And then as an adult, it just kind of opened the gateway for me to fully get back into Lego and start collecting all these other Lego things as well. So yeah, Lego Star Wars it holds such a special place in my heart that getting to do this book was, a dream project.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel the same way about Lego Star Wars. It's funny because it's like I had a little bit of a break in Lego in my life. And I would say it was right around when Force Awakens came out. It might have even been a little before it. My mom had randomly gotten me a Christmas gift. She got me the Millennium Falcon that they had made for the Force Awakens movie. And I was like, man, I haven't gotten a Lego set in so long. And I threw that together, and it was like, I've never stopped, honestly, since then. So, I just love seeing what's going to be coming out. That's why I'm so excited about this book that you're working on, is because I'm just excited to hear the stories of how these creators come up with these sets, how they decide which sets they're going to make, the details that they decide. And I mean, the progress over the years of how much detail that goes into these sets is just, it's crazy. Oh, we got Joe back here now too.
Hopefully I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. Go ahead, Graham.
Yeah, no, I just, I'm the same in that for me, when I build a Lego set, if I know the background to it, if I know a bit about what the designers put into that model as they were crafting it, then when I'm building it myself, I've got all of that in my mind, and it gives me an extra appreciation for it. Like, it's like when we sit down to watch Star Wars, knowing what, like, Ralph McQuarrie, Doug Chang, John Knoll, all these guys who worked with George Lucas and the creative teams on these films and shows, knowing all of that just gives us like an extra level of love and passion for it all. And that's the goal of this book for Lego Star Wars, is to give you that insight into everything that goes on to make this thing happen, to make the Lego Star Wars experience come to life. So hopefully by telling those stories and hearing from those people who actually work on these things, the next time that we're building a Lego Star Wars set, we've got all of that extra information in the back of our minds, and it's giving us that extra passion, that extra love for what we're doing.
Absolutely. I'm going to just share my screen too here, just so if anyone's watching on YouTube later on, they can see the book we're talking about here, Force of Creativity. Pre-ordered it today. It will ship from July 20th, 2024. So, I mean, the cover for this looks awesome. Like that box and the cover art for it, it looks, is that the UCS Millennium Falcon on the cover of it?
It is, yeah. It's the Millennium Falcons on the front of the box. And
Okay.
the publisher and me did an amazing job with this, because you get it in the box, and then when you open the box up, you see the Star Destroyer on the front of the actual hardback book. So it's so cool that we were able to have almost like two different covers for it. That was something really, really fun.
And if there's one thing I know that this book is going to do, I'm going to see the sets that I had from my childhood that I know that I destroyed are just in a box somewhere. I had the original Sith Infiltrator, which now things have come full circle because there's a new one out now. And the one that kills me is Anakin's pod racer from episode 1 that I had. That set, that might have been the one that really made me fall in love with Lego Star Wars, was just having that little pod racer. It was, man, I'm a little blast from the past, especially with Phantom Menace running back in the theaters right now too. I keep talking about myself here. I'm not even really asking any questions, but the book is already giving me flashbacks.
Well, I'm completely the same. Like that first year of Lego Star Wars sets in 1999, seeing a minifigure at Star Wars, like that alone was just mind blowing. It was so exciting. It was so fresh. So we've really kind of shamelessly in the book, we've got loads of pictures of really old sets from that first year or two, like really nice, big, full page images, like really high resolution, a way that you've never seen these pictures before. So you can really admire those classic sets and how lovingly they were photographed and things at the time.
Yes, absolutely. Joe, do you got anything now that you're back rolling here?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Graham, I'm old enough to remember Legos back when I was a little kid. And yes, I'm an old guy. I'm 52. I was part of the original trilogy. But Legos, before we had the Star Wars Legos, I was the guy who wanted the space Legos, right? The ones who the little missions to the moon or whatever. And I did what I think you've talked about. I've heard you in other interviews. I kind of did my own kit bashing, right? To where I was saying, how can I make an X-Wing out of what I've got in Legos? How can I make this ship, or this character, make this guy look like he's Luke or Han or whatever? How much of that was in your mind when this came up? Like thinking back to those days of when there wasn't this kind of stuff, and now being able to put it all together and seeing it come together in such beauty from 1999 till now.
Well, that was something that I was really started thinking about when I was working on the first chapter of the book. So when I was thinking about how did Lego get to this point and Star Wars get to this point where the two things started collaborating, I was thinking about why toys are so important to Star Wars, what that showed about Star Wars, the fact that people tangibly wanted to hold the things from these movies so much. And then also I was thinking, what was Lego doing that led them to the point where they partnered up with Star Wars? And I was thinking about the fact that the Lego minifigure only launched in 1978, 1 year after Star Wars was released in cinemas. And I thought that's a really interesting synergy, that the two things were kind of growing up at the same time and really establishing themselves with everybody. And, looking at some of the Lego play themes that kind of got Lego to a point from where they started with space to where they got with some of their action adventure themes, that they could do Star Wars and that they were kind of primed for that. And one of the really fun anecdotes that someone told me was that in about the mid 1990s, some of the designers and marketeers were sitting around after they'd done some testing with children, and they were saying, wouldn't it be amazing if we could do Star Wars? If we could bring Star Wars to Lego, like that would just be the best thing ever. But these guys weren't decision makers. They didn't have any power to do that. It was just something that they were speculating about. And just like there were so many people out there who dreamt of Lego Star Wars for all these years, and like you say, built their own versions of an X-Wing or the Millennium Falcon or a TIE fighter, there were also people within Lego who'd always dreamed of doing this and always been thinking about, what if one day we could make Lego Star Wars? So yeah, I thought that was really, really cool and really interesting.
Go ahead, D-Doc.
Go ahead.
You got, okay. So, and I apologize with me cutting in and out like I did. When you were younger, was it Legos were your first passion and then Star Wars wrapped in, or was it Star Wars and then Legos got wrapped in?
I think I probably had Lego from when I was younger. So I had like Lego Pirates and Lego Castle and Lego Western and things when I was a young kid. And then I guess, I'm trying to think how old I was. I think I was about 6 or 7 when I really got into Star Wars, and this thing just blew me away. Like seeing the special edition at the cinema, that was when I truly fell in love with it, because seeing it on the big screen and having that very visceral experience, yeah, that was when like a switch flicked in my head and I was a Star Wars fan forever from that moment onwards. So yeah, then the things kind of ran on a dual track for a little while. But then, yeah, I was quite a precocious kid. Like I was starting to read the Star Wars novels and things like that, and the comic books and so on. And I thought, well, I can't really be playing with this Lego anymore. I'm too old for this now. I read novels and, very sophisticated Star Wars fan. I don't play with toys anymore. And then, when I got the opportunity to go to Toys R Us, though, I would still look in the Lego section and admire all of the boxes. And then the day I walk in there and see Lego Star Wars on an end cap, it was like, if there was one thing in the world that could have kept me in Lego at that moment, it was Star Wars. So it's really funny the way the two things I really enjoyed them separately, but then they came together at the perfect moment for me personally. And I think about if I could go back and tell that kid staring at those boxes that one day you're going to get to write a book about this. Like, I never thought the thing would last more than a few years. Like I thought, compared to say like action figures, I was like, this is a very manageable collection. I'll collect all these sets in 99. Sure. I'll collect all these sets in 2000. I didn't imagine that 25 years later, like I'd still be finding space in my house to store this stuff and everything.
I know all of that too well. I always say to my wife, I'm like, hey, I think I'm going to need to put another shelf up downstairs. Yeah, because it's funny because at my last house, I did not have anywhere to display my Lego. And it was like a little piece of me that was lost for a little bit. It was like 2.5, 3 years where it's like a lot of my sets were in storage. And then any sets that people were buying me, I was keeping them in the box for a while because I'm like, I really don't have anywhere to put these right now. So when we were looking to get a new house, I was like, we need to have a basement. There needs to be room for shelves. I need to, but like Lego is getting figured into my, home purchase that we're making here. But
it's a lifestyle choice that we all have to adapt to, right?
Exactly. I recently built this, the Disney castle behind me, and I had the Darth Maul sitting right in the middle there, and I still don't have it up on the wall. And a little piece of me hurts every time I walk down here and see that I haven't found a spot for
I have to have my Lego on rotation because it's I find it's the only way that I can ever get to have any of it on display is just by being very strict and circulating it.
Do you break down sets if you're going to see? Like, it's funny, I follow other Lego creators on YouTube and everything like that, and they're just like, yeah, I'm going to display this one, break this one down or whatever. The funny thing is, I've never broken down a single set. I'm always just trying to find more space. And I know that time is kind of running out. Like, what's the process like of breaking down a set if you do that?
I used to break them down, and I used to be so kind of fastidious about it, and that every element would have to be separated. I was like, every element separated, bagged up and everything. But particularly, the dangerous thing about working on a Lego magazine is that you become aware of all this other Lego that you were peripherally paying attention to before, but now you're professionally obligated to pay attention to it. And then when you pay attention, you're like, that thing's amazing. I want to buy that as well, and that, and that, and that. So it's dangerous. It's really dangerous. And so on that basis, I realized if I was to break down these sets anymore and keep doing it that way, like there's probably not enough time in my life to rebuild them all. So I'm just going to keep them. I kind of break them into chunks and put them back in the boxes. It's really not a glamorous thing at all. But yeah, that's the kind of only way that I find I can get by with it now.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to delve into a lot of stuff about you in a short period of time here. So to get us up to where we are with this book coming out, the Blocks magazine that you're a part of, how long have you been a part of it? You're the editor of it, correct? And how many episodes, all that kind of stuff have you guys put together of that magazine?
We just launched issue 115, which is amazing. Again, it feels like 5 minutes that I started working on it, but it's nearly 10 years now that I've been part of it. And yeah, it's like I say, monthly Lego magazine, specifically written for adult fans with a real kind of depth of content and insight that we know that adult fans are looking for. And our new issue is our 25th anniversary of Lego Star Wars issue. So we look at 25 sets that tell the story of Lego Star Wars. And then we have interviews with the designer of the new TIE Interceptor. We have an interview with Matt Denton, who does these amazing upscaled Lego Star Wars mechs. Absolutely packed with Lego Star Wars content this month, as you can imagine. And yeah, it's just a complete labor of love. And we're just sending the new issue to print next week. And that one's going to have like a full redesign of the magazine. So that's been a big project that I'm really, really looking forward to actually getting into people's hands.
Yeah, I actually wasn't aware of this magazine, and I'm going to be getting a subscription to it because it looks awesome. And I see something here. It looks like you can get a free exclusive Star Wars poster too.
Yes, definitely. Anyone who wants to sign up should sign up before May the 20th. Because we've got a free poster with the magazine that's got our current cover on that we really, really love this cover. Daniel Jamieson did an amazing job of it for us. R2-D2 is projecting the Blocks logo. And yeah, that's the poster that you get free with a subscription at the moment. And there's free back issues as well. So you can catch up on some of the previous issues that you've missed if you take out a subscription before May the 20th.
See, D-Doc, when he started with us, he started in with us in episode 96, I think, something like that. And he said he used to listen, and we talk about toys, we talk about Legos, we talk about this and that. And he said, you guys started me like on a drug here because now I'm buying all of these things. And I had no idea that in today's show, he was going to go, oh, by the way, now I'm getting a subscription to the magazine. Sorry to Mrs. D Doc for always making you spend that extra money, but it
Well,
looks awesome.
my kids get the Lego, magazine, because we've been to Legoland in New York, which is awesome. And I feel like since we purchase stuff there, we get this Lego magazine that comes in, and I'm usually the one who kind of reads it first before they even get to it. So yeah, it's addicting.
I think for so many people, like, there's been different iterations of the Lego Club magazine over the years, and so many people had that as kids that I think there's something really nice that we can do Blocks magazine for adult fans. And it's almost like it was when you were a kid getting the Lego Club magazine, but you get, an adult version of it with all kinds of content that's relevant to where you are in your Lego life now. Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So you're doing the Blocks magazine. You're a Star Wars fan. The 25th anniversary of all this is coming up and everything. Is there anything, without getting into too many details, kind of like the general outline of how some of this came together, right? I mean, like Star Wars, Legos, and it just came together into this great new book that's going to be coming out. I mean, what were some of the process or steps of that?
Yeah, well, I was talking to the publisher of the book, Amit, about like projects that we might work on. And then the opportunity for this Lego Star Wars 25th anniversary book, I got an email asking what I thought we might do for it. And I shot off a quick reply with just a paragraph or two saying what I thought we could do. Went off to the gym. And the whole time I was at the gym exercising, all I could think about was this book and what it should be. And by the end of the hour of being there, I had like a whole outline for the book in my head. And I was like, we need to talk to this person. We need to talk to that person. We need this chapter. We need that chapter. We must include the video games. We must include the big builds, blah, blah, blah. And then I got back home. I hadn't had a reply because it was like late in the day that I sent the email. But I fired off another email regardless that was much longer and had a full outline for what I thought the book should be and everything. And I thought, this is probably way too much information that they want right now. But then the next day I got a reply that was like, yes, we agree. This is perfect. This is exactly the sort of thing we're looking for. And I had incredible support from the publisher the whole way through the process. They were really, really wonderful, really great to work with.
Gotcha. D-Doc, do you have anything, or you want me to keep going?
Yeah, I mean, now, as you started working on this, did you get to travel out? I mean, I'm sure you got to go and talk to like designers and go to like headquarters and all this stuff. Like, what was that process like as you really started to get deep into it and talk to some of the people who created these sets and everything?
Well, it was quite funny when I looked at the time frame for the book, because I realized that we needed to start quite quickly. And like in Denmark, there's a big period over the summer where most people take their vacation and lots of people are away on holiday and things. So there were only certain weeks that we were going to be able to go over and do these interviews. So I kind of picked a week, spotted 3 days that I could be over in Denmark. I'm based in the UK, so I am. So it wasn't too far to go or anything. But then during those 3 days, I scheduled so many interviews. It was a lot. It was 3 really full days, and they were fantastic days. They were so interesting, so fun. But by the end of it, each day, like I could barely speak, and my throat was dry, and But yeah, we spoke to everyone at Lego who's involved in the process. We spoke to the guys who are the leaders of the Lego Star Wars design team. We spoke to specific designers who'd worked on it from across the years, who'd worked on specific models or specific minifigures. We spoke to packaging specialists. We even spoke to engineers who make sure that, like, when the designers come up with a new element, it's going to be able to be pumped out of the molding machines quickly enough. Like, this is the kind of detail that we were able to dive into for this. It was really, we spoke to some really fascinating people who gave us some absolutely fantastic insight and stories and things.
So not only did you get to do all that, but I loved reading and seeing that you have the one and only Billy D. Williams, Lando Calrissian, doing the foreword of this book. And then the prologue is by Doug Jang. For most Star Wars fans will know him, designer. and I don't want to mispronounce his name. Is it Jans or
It's Jens Kronvold
Jens?
Fredericks.
Okay, yes, from Lego, who is just a master designer there. What did you sit there and think to yourself, I'm talking to, or I'm involved with something that's involving these three like icons in their industries, right? Did that just blow you away?
It really did. Like, when we were thinking of who could write the foreword, and Billy D. Williams came to mind because he always voices Lando Calrissian in the Lego Star Wars content, as well as playing him in the movies. But, it was one of those things that was a nice idea, but I didn't have any expectation that it would necessarily happen. And then when we received the forward for him, it's absolutely pitch perfect. It sets up the book in the most beautiful way. And yeah, that was a really special moment. In terms of getting Doug Chang involved, that was something where I thought, if we're going to talk about Lego Star Wars design in this level of detail and get into it and really talk to the people who are working on these models, we first really need to establish what it is about Star Wars design that's special, that's unique, how these guys think about that. And then that's when it occurred to me that I can interview Doug Chang, but I'm not a design expert. I don't have that level of knowledge that Jens does. So then it occurred to me that if the two of them have a conversation and I just moderate it, we can find out what are the similarities between Lego design and movie design. What are the differences? Like, what kind of career paths did these guys take to get to where they are?
Yeah.
How have things evolved? Because Doug Chang has worked on this for around 30 years. Jens has been working on Lego Star Wars for the whole time that's been running. So they've both got this interesting perspective on their respective professions. So yeah, it just seemed like such a fantastic opportunity to get that conversation down.
That is, like I said, they're just icons, all three of them in their field, and to have them all involved with this book is fantastic. Now we there we go.
We need some Lando appearances in minifigure form while we're talking about them. Got to get
There we
them in
go.
there.
I listened to the Billy D. Williams audiobook recently. It was fantastic. It just captured his spirit completely. And I tell people all the time, on my 50th birthday, a bunch of people went in on a cameo from him to me for my 50th birthday. Oh, I know. I have it. I just leave it on my phone. And when I'm like, hey, bad mood. Oh, guess what? I'll just have Billy D. Williams talk to me, and send me this message. But so that's incredible. And thinking about Doug Chang and, the work, you see the work and the planning that was put into the Phantom Menace and all the work that he had involved with it. I just, and I've seen him I think, Didak, we've seen him in so many different, behind the scenes things, all that kind of stuff. So just awesome you could have them. Let's jump a little bit more into the book. So it's basically, it's a coffee table book, right? I think I heard you mention somebody else. This book is made for the adult collector. As much as kids will like to look through it, it's something that, guys like me and D-Doc are going to love and live for. And I did hear on another interview, there are no bricks in the book, correct?
Yes, there's no bricks with the book. We couldn't put any actual physical Lego in there. But we did have the opportunity to put other items in with it. And it was suggested that we could put some prints in or something. And it occurred to me that, what if we elevated that? What if we put in a time capsule of artifacts from across the 25 years of Lego Star Wars and go right back to the beginning and recreate the first ever Lego Star Wars box that was created? Because that box was only sent out to people who were being invited to New York Toy Fair to see the secret Lego room. So only a handful of toy buyers got it, a handful of media people. There's very few of them around. When they do go up for sale online, they go for thousands of dollars. So none of us can have it. But the next best thing is to have a replica of it.
Yes.
So we recreated it with very minor differences, to reference the 25th anniversary. And we don't have a sound chip in it, which the original one did. And the idea is that you can fold this thing together yourself when you get the book, pop it on the shelf, and build your own scene to put inside it. So you can put your own Lego bricks in there, add those to it, and you've got like a little replica piece of Lego Star Wars history.
I see the jealousy in D-Doc's eyes right now. He's mulling over the missed opportunities. Yeah, that's a fantastic thing. And gosh, yeah, it's so weird to think 25 years of this. And I have a few Star Wars Lego items, not like D-Doc, not like Alfie. They are the masters of this. And then I think Nick Shesky, one of our former co-host, he had quite the collection of it as well. So I think it's fantastic. I personally, I need the Captain Rex helmet and I need a Y-wing set. That's what I've told D-Doc. I'm going to go on the search and get those two things because I have the patience of a bunny rabbit. I can't sit still long enough to do Legos, but those two I think I can get involved with. Go ahead, D-Doc.
And see, this is where I'm trying to tell Joe. I'm like, Joe, you throw on Star Wars, man. You've got your Lego, so you've got an activity to do while you got the movie going on. I mean, that's one of my like Lego to me is like a therapy, honestly. To me, like it's like, you know, I feel like it just puts me in my happy place when it's like, you know, got a movie on, got music on, sitting there building something, seeing it come together. And I think it's funny. That's why I love the Star Wars Lego so much, is because, you know, obviously I love minifigures, but I love the ships even more than the minifigures. You know, there's so much value in minifigures, but I'm just like, I need to see, I want to hold this ship. I want to see how this is going to turn out. You know, I just built you know, this set was a pleasant surprise to me. The TIE Interceptor and the Fang Fighter.
Yeah, it's a good
My
set.
yeah, my wife had gotten it for me for my birthday, you know, because anytime it's birthday, Christmas, whatever, for me, it's easy. I'm just like, I'll take a Lego set, you know. People are like, you ever get sick of getting these for gifts? I'm like, no, but you know, I put that one together, and when you're holding that TIE Interceptor, you can't help but to, you know, pretend like you're flying it around. Even me being 33 years old, it's like, you know, that's something with Lego that you know, just it doesn't lose its touch. And that's why we need to get Joe into it. We need to get him building. And if you're going to start on the Captain Rex helmet, those helmets can be a little tricky sometimes if that's where you're starting, I'll say. You got to
Okay.
really sort everything out because there's a lot of the same colors in there.
The Y-wings are really good though. Like every Lego Y-wing has been absolutely brilliant. Like the way of showing all the greebling and everything on the top of it, like the elements and things they use for that is fantastic.
Yeah.
And again, like you were saying about how like you can't help but fly them around. And that's the beauty of modern Lego sets. Once you've put them together, they're pretty solid. You can fly them around your head and get them going around the living room, and you know, bits don't tend to fall off.
Yeah. There we go.
This was the Y-wing from when Rogue One came out, which this is, anytime people ask me when they look at my sets, what are your favorite sets? This is definitely like a random top favorite of mine, just because when I was building this, I was just like, oh my God, which my kid did drop this and I've lost a couple pieces on the back end, but we'll survive. It's what it's for sometimes, you know, the kids are obviously going to play with them. But yeah, I just built a Y-wing model. So just to see the two of them next to each other and see the similarities in the details, that's why I'm like, this is like a movie accurate model. And then I'm like, you know, let me throw my Y-wing next to that and just see the little details that Lego finds. And it's like in these parts where you have all the greebling going on, it's like very accurate to the real ship. It's pretty amazing.
Well, especially when you look at where some of these parts come from, like, you know, there's pieces that were originally designed as roller skates or paint rollers or, you know, all sorts of interesting elements that are originally designed for one purpose, but then end up being part of the engine on a Star Wars spaceship. And it's always fun to see those sorts of things.
Absolutely. I mean, I see the droideka on above your shoulder, and I know that they used lipstick for the eyes on that. You know,
But
that's
you would
genius.
never tell, right? It just looks like the perfect piece for that reason. It's
Wow.
Absolutely.
yeah, it's amazing.
They look perfect. They look exactly like it would in the movie. It was really a genius idea to do that. I just saw that on the shelf the other day, and I will be purchasing that one as well. This anniversary is killing me right now.
Well, it's like you guys will appreciate this story. So I was in London on May 4th, Star Wars Day, and couldn't resist popping into the Lego store just to see how everything was going in there. And then I peek over the counter area, and they have got Lego carrier bags with the Lego logo written in Arabic. And I was like, I've already ordered everything I was going to order for May the 4th online. But I need that carrier bag now. Like, I can't go home knowing that carrier bag's here and I don't have it. So I was going around the store, like, finding things to buy just so that I could get this special carrier bag.
Love it. It does. It becomes an obsession, whether it's Star Wars, whether it's Lego. I mean, once it gets into you, you can't let it go. I want to talk real quick on a couple, I guess, similar acquaintances we have, friends in the Star Wars or Lego world. But I brought one up earlier with Mark Newbold with Star Wars. Have you done an interview already with Mark about the book, or I'm not sure
I'm
if you.
talking to Mark next week, actually, about
Okay.
the book. But yeah, I run into Mark at all sorts of things at different Star Wars events and everything. Yeah, it's always fun to see Mark.
Great. Yeah, he is a great guy. He's been on our show 6 or 7 times, and I love to just sit back and let him go and tell all the Star Wars stories and the insight and everything that he has, because he is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to Star Wars. And we just recently did an interview with Steve Sansweet at Rancho Obi-Wan. Have you had much interaction, or have you interacted with Steve when it comes to maybe what's going into Rancho Obi-Wan as far as Star Wars, or just general conversations?
I mean, I'm just yeah, Steve's amazing, and so I guess, I'm sure that the time capsule that we put in the book was in the back of my mind because of his book, The Star Wars Vault, from a few
Hmm.
years back, where he had like an amazing hardback book that had bits of Star Wars memorabilia throughout it. I'm sure subconsciously that was in there, and that's why I thought of doing the time capsule. But I did speak to him for the book, and he was incredibly helpful, actually, in some of the research that I was talking about for that Toy Fair invite, because he actually has one
Of
in his
course.
collection, and he was very generously sending us measurements and things so that we'd be able to recreate it properly. But yeah, he also talked to me about some of the really obscure items that he's got in his collection that very, very few people own, and we were able to touch on a little bit in the book because Steve is such an incredible wealth of knowledge, and obviously, I need to be at Rancho Obi-Wan again. It's been too long. It's and he's got a new Lego area there,
That's
so I
that's
have to see that. It's like, what a good excuse to go again.
We just talked about that the other day on the podcast, because growing up in the 70s, the figures and the ships were everything to guys my age, right? People my age, male or female, it doesn't matter. But um, I've really seen, and we talk about as we collect nowadays, Lego has pretty much surpassed the figure collecting, because it adds that extra layer of building it yourself and having the different things you can do with it. And not as many people are like, we discussed it. You go into a Target, a Walmart, or somewhere like that, and you go to the aisle where action figures are, and there's a couple posts for Star Wars figures. And then you go to the Lego aisle, and half of the aisle is Star Wars Lego kits. So it's just amazing to me seeing that transition. You hear people who video games were their entry to Star Wars, or comic books or books, but Lego is as much of an entry point as anything. And like I said, I think it's surpassed the action figure as the collectible, the toy when it comes to Star Wars now.
Well, I always think about the fact that you used to find out the name of an obscure Star Wars character from the card back for the action figure. Like, there'd be some weird
Mhm.
alien that you had no idea who it was, but then they'd have a name all of a sudden because of the action figure. But then with the Lego Star Wars video games, when they started having like 500 playable characters, including like every background alien in Maz Kanata's castle, suddenly you're getting those names from when you're playing that game, and it goes ping, 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 and all of the little circles come up with their faces in. So I think, it's a really interesting shift that's happened over the years. Because, like you say, now it feels like everyone has Lego Star Wars. Like, when you go to Star Wars Celebration, like a couple of times ago, I was at the queue waiting to buy a Gentle Giant statue, and I got talking to the guy in front of me who didn't necessarily consider himself a Lego Star Wars collector. He was just a Star Wars collector. But he started showing me on his phone like the Lego Star Wars sets that he'd got in his collection. And it's something I was really conscious of when writing the book, was that this should be a book for Star Wars fans just as much as Lego fans, because there's so many people who do have that, where they have a big Star Wars collection and part of it is Lego, just as there's loads of Lego fans who have a big Lego collection and part of it is Star Wars. So throughout the book, I was really thinking about everybody who might want to read it and making sure that it would be accessible to everybody, and that we were explaining things clearly enough, for both audiences.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
And on one thing that Joe brought up that I was going to ask, did you get to talk to any of like the developers of Lego games? Because there really are a lot of people, especially in my age range, who are like, who that was their intro to Star Wars in general. Like they played those Lego Star Wars games before they saw the movies, before they bought the sets or anything. So could you get into any details on that stuff?
Yeah, and that was interesting when talking to people for the book. Several different people in very different areas of Lego and Lucasfilm brought up to me what a big effect those Lego Star Wars video games had on Lego Star Wars physical products, that like it just put boosters under the whole thing, having these video games that were just so viscerally accessible and exciting to kids, but then still fun for grown-ups because the humor and everything was in there and the parody angle of it. So we dedicate a whole chapter of the book to video games, and we spoke to a few of the guys who were there right at the beginning. Coming up, like there's been so many Lego video games now that we just take this formula for granted. But back then, in the early 2000s, they were coming up with this for the first time and saying, how does a minifigure move when they're using the Force? How does a minifigure wield a lightsaber? And I mean, how much fun must that have been to be sitting there, like figuring out what the Kaminoan dance should be and all of this sort of thing? Like, they had some great stories, and it's a chapter of the book that I had a great deal of fun researching and writing and everything.
I'm very excited for this Disney Plus Lego show that's going to be coming out in September, because it looks like they're really going to have some creative fun. And I know that there's been some talk of sets coming out in the future that might be from that show. So I'm really excited to see, just from that trailer. I'm like, we got to wait till September for this. I'm like, I can't wait to see what fun they have with it.
For it, I thought that sounds fun, but then when I saw that trailer, it was like, oh no, okay, this is going to be so much fun. Like,
I mean, they're coming out with a black Millennium Falcon, a dark Jar Jar, right, minifig, a white Darth Vader minifig, is what I've heard from based on this show. I mean, it's all going to come out based on just doing this rebuilding the galaxy show, and I'm a big person. I love the storyline of Star Wars. I love the canon of Star Wars. I love that the movies follow along and everything ties together, right? But I do love the Lego stories that are just this fun, animated, silly, lighthearted thing, and it lets you look at it from a totally different perspective. Just like what was those the Seth Green, what were those called back in the day?
Robot Chicken.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, so you just, I like that Star Wars can have fun with itself and let it be. It's very serious, and everybody's, I want to follow it true to facts and all this, but let's go have some fun over here, and go do this. And so I love that the animation shows, or the animation is coming out. I was looking through the chapters. You have the beginnings, making models, Jedi, Sith, droids, and more, video games, Ultimate Collector Series, getting animated, always innovating. What did I building? I forget.
Oh, and we wrap it all up with the fan designs, the
Yes.
things that fans build themselves, because and Rebuild the Galaxy, the new animation, is such a. That's what's so nice about it, is that it combines Star Wars with the idea of what fans do with it, which is you build the thing, you look at it, you think that's great, and then you can completely take it apart and build something different with it. And once these designers have made these amazing sets, you followed the steps, you've understood how the elements work, how they go together, then it's yours. Then you can create whatever you want with it. And that's why we really wanted to end the book with that chapter. It's just to really say, this is what it can be if you want. This is what you can go and do with it. And we've got like a really nice mix of builds. Like there's people who do these enormous dioramas with literally tens of thousands of Lego bricks and hundreds of clone minifigures and battle droid minifigures and this sort of thing. There's amazing characters where you look at them and you're like, how on earth is that built out of Lego? It doesn't look like it's made from Lego bricks. And then we've got people's starships and things that they've built for themselves. So yeah, really, really nice selection of some of the amazing fan builds that are out there in the community.
Love it. Was there any points, you know, and obviously if you can't answer certain parts, that's totally fine, but was there stuff that you saw that maybe never made it to the shelves where you're just like, maybe you guys should go back to that and make that design, or like, you know, because one of the things that I saw that I thought was interesting, and it's like, it's one thing that when the helmet series came out, I was just like, I need every single one of those helmet series that they come out with. And I thought it was very cool to see some of the concept art. Like I saw a picture of like the Boba Fett helmet where it looks like the top looked very different on it. So, you know, that's one thing I'm excited about, is to see those early design things. But was there ever any stuff where you're just like, hey, maybe you guys should come out with that set in the future?
I think those guys get so many ideas thrown at them that and you know, truth be told, it's been going so long and there's been so many sets that my list of things that they haven't done that I want is getting quite short. I can't think. But in terms of unreleased things or things that are iterations along the way to the final model, any opportunity to include that kind of stuff in the book, we made sure we were taking. And there were two sets in particular that I really wanted us to be able to show, because Lego did a series of buildable action figures. And fans were aware that there were two figures at the end of that run that weren't released because it ended before they got to them. And that was a super battle droid and a clone trooper on an ATRT. And we were able to include the final model images in the book. So it's one of those things where, as a toy nerd, who's someone who loves Star Wars toys, I love those things that could have been, or almost were, or maybe would have been. Like all of that stuff for me is what makes collecting Star Wars so interesting. If it was only about buying the stuff that gets released and having it on a shelf, that's fun, that's awesome. But the thing that really engages you and makes you curious and makes you want to know more is always that kind of stuff around the edges, that stuff that doesn't quite get to be in things. So yeah, when we all agreed that we could show them and everything and that they got approved to be in the book, that was a delight. I knew how much that would mean to people, and yeah, it was really fun to be able to put those in.
Yeah, the clone trooper on the ATRT. I mean, that would just be amazing, because I have the you can kind of see it up here. I have the scout trooper that was on the bike, which when that set came out, I was just like, you know, it was huge and it was affordable, and I'm like, I can just picture that clone trooper on the ATRT like that, man, and just like that 501st battle set, which was like, I remember I saw that one on the shelf and I was like, oh, let me get this. And, you know, it's an affordable set, and I built it. And I'm just like, this set's amazing. It was like $30, $25 or something at the time. I'm like, you know, that's when I started to realize, I'm like, all right, I just don't want these ships. When I see these battle packs.
Well, that is one thing I love about Lego Star Wars is, yes, there are the bonkers, massive Venators and Star Destroyers and Millennium Falcons that will take over whatever room you choose to display them in. But then there's also sets at all different price points. Like it can be so satisfying to put together a speeder and fly that around, or a microfighter, even though like the minifigure and ship are completely bonkers and out of scale with each other. Like, you know, it's still such a satisfying little model to build. And then there's all the ones in the middle in between where, you know, it's still something satisfying. But, you know, you don't need an entire coffee table for it. It will sit on your shelf at the end. Like the new Starship sets, like the Millennium Falcon and the Invisible Hand and the Tantive 4. Like those are really cool kind of shelf-friendly display models.
Absolutely. I have my own.
T-Duck's trying to get me addicted to it. Look at him.
Well, Joe, this is as we were talking here, I remembered that there's a Captain Rex microfighter that's coming out. It's 99 pieces. This is your entry point, Joe. You're a Captain Rex guy. And there you go, man. The second you see that microfighter, you can buy it, because I'm gonna get that too, because I want a Rex minifigure myself, and I don't have the Venator. So
Graham, so we've made it 25 years. We've got this massive thing going on between Lego and Star Wars, and you've been able to culminate it into this great book that it'll be out in July, correct? It'll be available
Exactly.
in July? Okay.
Yeah, it's exclusively at lego.com.
Yep.
It's available for pre-order at the moment, and July 20th, I believe it starts shipping.
So where do you go from here? Now that you've kind of climbed this mountain, right? Like you're at the Blocks Mag, you've gotten involved with Star Wars. It's a passion for you on this. What's next for you? Where do you see what's some adventure you want to take next now that you've taken this challenge?
That is such a good question. I mean, I love doing Blocks magazine. We've got a fantastic team, and redesigning that has been a real treat. I've really enjoyed doing that and kind of presenting the magazine to people in a new way as of next month. I'm really, really excited. But there's more books to come. That's for sure.
Okay.
I can't say a great deal about what they will be, but there's more books to come, and it's all good fun. I never take for granted what I do. I mean, I had a few years working in a job that wasn't for me, that I didn't have a passion for. And the amount of things that fell into place when I started doing what I loved was amazing. It was, but by following a passion, it's just amazing. Yeah, just how many things fall into place from doing that. And, getting to work on Lego and Star Wars projects is an absolute thrill. And yeah.
That's awesome. That's good. D-Doc, anything we haven't covered that you want to hit before we break away?
No, I mean, I pretty much have checked everything off on my list here, really, and it was just really fun to talk about this stuff, and it's getting me fired up to order this book and just see what's inside of it. I mean, to me, Lego is almost one of those like larger than life things that I'm happy to have as like a part of our lives. And, I feel like you're a great person to be writing this book. I can tell that you really, left no stone unturned while you were doing this. So, I guess I just want to say thanks for joining us. Thanks for talking about this. I'm really excited to read this book, and they're in good hands if you're writing the book.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me. Honestly, it's been so much fun. And anytime you want to talk Lego, talk Star Wars, just let me know and I'll be here. It's been a lot of fun.
That sounds great. We will definitely do that, and hopefully, as we keep going with the podcast, and I'm sure you'll be attending many conventions or different things like that. It's like I tell Mark Newbold, our paths will cross. We'll sit there and we'll have as he says, I'll buy you a pint. I would love to do that. Anybody we've had on as a guest, we've had the luxury of meeting some of them in person, right, D-Doc? But it's been great to make these relationships across the board. And I love how, whether it's Steve Sansweet, Mark Newbold, whether it's Billy D. Williams, all that, we have this connectivity that here you are in the UK and here we are, two guys in different parts of the US, and we can have these great conversations about Star Wars and Legos. So thank you so very much for taking the time. I'm probably going to bite the bullet and become a Lego guy because these guys keep pushing me to do it. But I mean, I want to do it. I just, I got 3 grandkids. I got to take care of that. You know what? I'll get into it with the grandkids. That's how I'll get my in. I'll do it that way. But thanks again. Graham, was there anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to hit before we let you go? I'm sorry. We kind of monopolized.
No, not at all. No, honestly, I mean, as I say, if people do want to pre-order the book, it's at lego.com. And if you would like to get the new issue of Blocks magazine, the Lego Star Wars 25 issue, that's available at blocks, BLOCKS, mag.com.
That's perfect. That's how we'll end it right there. Graham, thank you so much for being with us. To our followers and our listeners, thank you for always being a part of what we do. And until next week, may the Force be with you.